Well, welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Sampson, and of course on our show we discuss so many of the issues facing the boomers, their parents, and what we know, of course, is an aging population. I want to remind everybody that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, a professional senior placement and elder care consulting organization that has a national network of advisors to help in determining the right path for senior living, receiving proper care, whether you even need an advocate for in-home care, assisted living, residential or memory care. Get the necessary advice from a senior care advisor in your area by calling Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you could go directly to the website at www.seniorcareauthority.com. I can't emphasize enough how much I appreciate all the support. We appreciate all the support. We all work hard to provide you these shows each and every week to help educate you on a lot of the issues many of us are facing. And so many of you have downloaded our free app, which you can do on your iPhone or Android phone. Just type in the Aging Boomers. Of course, you could go to your iTunes app and listen to it that way. Spreaker, Stitcher. There's all sorts of different ways to listen to the shows. Of course, you could also go to our website where all of our shows are at theagingboomers.com. So, again, just want to thank everybody for all their support. Share this information and the shows with others. I think they'll find it very helpful. So I want to introduce today's guest, who I'm excited to talk about because I know it's an area that many people don't know about, and we're excited to share this information. We have with us today Marlena Hemenway, who is a director of 3 residential care homes in the Twin Cities in Minnesota by the name of the Geneva Suites, which provides assisted living in a small family setting for seniors. Marlena has been an influential person at the Geneva Suites due to her strong customer service, coupled with her creativity and strong empathy for seniors. So, Marlena, thank you so much for joining us on the Aging Boomers today.
Thank you for having me, Frank.
Yeah, I've though we haven't met face to face, I have met many owners and administrators of some of the small residential care homes, and it's special people that certainly run these homes. So personally, I just want to thank you for all you do. I know it's hard work, but I'm sure it's very gratifying.
It is. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So just generally, tell us more about Geneva Suites. For those especially that are not familiar with more of the, residential care home model.
Sure. So the Geneva Suites is unique in that we've purchased homes in residential areas and had them renovated specifically to accommodate seniors. So in our homes we have roll-in showers so that it's really easy for the seniors to get in and out and for the caregivers to help them with showering. We have either one-level living, or we've installed elevators in the home so that there's safe transfers to utilize the entire house. We have a really low staffing ratio, which is really important, and I think what makes residential homes stand out above assisted living or even nursing homes. In our homes, we have a 1-to-3 staffing ratio, 24 hours a day with awake care. So it's really unique and really wonderful care for our residents. So that means that if someone comes in and moves into our home, that whether they need help going to the bathroom at 1 in the morning or 1 in the afternoon, they have the exact same support.
Well, it's tremendous. I think most people are more familiar with what we would call in the industry as assisted living communities, larger places that have assisted living, may have memory care, also may even have independent living. And I'm sure there's a lot of advantages to those types of places too. So who would be maybe a better fit for a residential care home like yours, Geneva Suites, versus maybe a larger assisted living community?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So a lot of times when you interview seniors about where they want to be, they say they want to be home. That's their first preference. And there are a lot of agencies out there that do home care and allow that to help them stay with that wish. Unfortunately, sometimes situations change where they need more care than what's appropriate at home. So that's where residential homes come in and are a wonderful fit. They allow that 24-hour support in a home-like setting. And so a lot of times seniors, when they go into large communities, behavior issues, especially if they need memory care or their behaviors really amp up in the large environments because they're just not able to get the attention that they need. When you think about it, assisted living sometimes have a ratio of 1 to 15, some even 1 to 20 when you look at the caregiving ratio. So that would mean that a resident would have anywhere from 2 to maybe 3 minutes of a caregiver's time per hour. So that I know just from experience that to help a senior go to the bathroom, it takes a lot more than 2 minutes. And so they end up getting a little bit of care, and then they have to wait a really long time before they get attended to again. And that's where our residential homes really shine for people who need care. So it's not for grandma or grandpa that still can drive their own car and still gets dressed all on their own and is still really independent. We're more for the grandma and grandpas that really need support most of the time. And that's where our communities really stand out. So
would you say that on average, it may not be the case all the time, but generally speaking, your residents are probably have a higher acuity level than residents at larger assisted living communities?
Absolutely. We're for people who really need the care, whether it's because they have dementia and they need a lot of redirection, or if they're a stroke victim and, they need a lot of help with transferring, or they need mainly bed-bound cares, or a lot of our residents have Parkinson's, and so they're definitely at a fall risk. It also has a lot of impulsive behavior, and so with having that really low staffing ratio, we're able to keep eyes on them all the time and able to make sure they're staying safe.
So who would not be a good fit for a smaller residential care home like Geneva Suites? I know you can't speak for everybody, all the smaller 6, 8 bed homes around the country, but tell us just about your location. Who might not be a good fit?
Like I mentioned before, people who are still relatively independent and doing most of their ADLs or activities of daily living on their own would not necessarily fit in with the Geneva Suites. They need, I'm trying to make sure I'm explaining this correctly. What our goal is when people really need to have care that is more than just a check-in once a day. Right. Those are the people that we need.
So somebody who is still pretty active, not they're participating in many activities. They're very, very involved in the community and getting around pretty good. May not be the best, may not be the right fit.
Yeah, the way our model is set up, we have all-inclusive pricing, and their pricing is guaranteed for life. So that's unique to our personal home. And our home is more expensive than an assisted living. So if they're not needing those cares, it wouldn't financially make sense to move into one of our homes until they're really at the point that they need the cares. Okay. We do have a lot of activities going on. We have physical therapy in our home twice a week. We have physicians that come and visit. We have lots of different activities going on, different volunteers coming through, music therapy, pet therapy, all of those things. So it's not that our residents aren't active, but they're more in the house versus going out into the community often.
Right. Yeah, I know that, as you know, my day job is in the placement business, and I always, even if and again, I know the pricing is different throughout the country, but even if a smaller care home was less expensive than a assisted living or memory care location, sometimes it's still a good fit for somebody who may, for example, be a fall risk. All right,
absolutely.
Because I think there's certainly we see so much on TV and you hear about press a button if you fall. I think we all in the industry want to try to prevent that fall from happening in the first place, and I think that is one of the great advantages of a home like yours. Like you said, you got a 3-to-1 ratio, so you got a pretty good chance that you're going to help prevent that fall. There's no guarantees, but I see that as a huge advantage. Absolutely.
Yeah, and another advantage is we're really able to personalize the care and personalize the experience. So it's making sure that if someone wants to get up a little bit later, that they still get breakfast, that they don't skip that meal because they weren't there by 8 a.m. It's making sure that there are activities that are really stimulating for them on a personal level, instead of going into a big room and sitting there watching other people play bingo, but you have macular degeneration, so you can't see the bingo cards. So it's really making sure that the activities that are presented are valuable and purposeful for the residents. It's making sure that the meals are getting to them, that they're actually eating them, and that they're foods that they like. It's making sure that the care plans are really followed and adapted when declines happen, or if, let's say, they had a broken hip and they're starting to improve and get stronger, that the care plans reflect that. So they can be as independent as possible, but with a lot of supervision.
Right. I want to, just let everybody know that you are licensed by the state of Minnesota, and every, I don't want to say every, but every care home that we would refer to someone at a very minimum would have to be licensed, by the state. And so I just want to let people know out there that they're licensed in the same manner. You're licensed in the same manner as a larger assisted living community. And
correct.
And I'm sure you meet the very minimum requirements, probably much greater than that. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was one thing that we found almost comical when we were filling out our application. They had us write down how we assured that we saw each resident at least once per day. And in a big facility where they have in between 100 and 200 beds, I can see where that would be a necessity. But in our home, it's just like in your home where you live. People are always interacting. It's going through past bedrooms. It's making sure people are at all of their meals. It's just a completely different philosophy.
Yeah, It's always interesting to me to see the reaction of a family that sees one of these homes for the first time. Especially even just driving up. I know that many of these residential care homes throughout the country, they're in the middle of a neighborhood, may or may not have a sign out front. So people go, really? This is it? This is a nice home, and it's a house. Pardon me. It's really a house. It's, when you say home, sometimes people think of nursing home. This is a house that's, and you converted it, correct? I mean, it wasn't built for being a residential care home initially, or was it?
Nope. The 3 homes that we have were all previously owned by families, and we purchased them and then made different renovations. Like I mentioned before, we adapted the bathrooms so that they're very easy for the seniors to utilize. We've widened doorways so it's really easy with a walker or wheelchair for the residents to get in and out of their bedrooms. It's making sure all of the flooring is either hardwood floor or a really low pile carpet, so it's easy for them to maneuver with their walkers and wheelchairs. But it is a home, so what's great about it is each room is uniquely different, just like a home that you live in is. Each bedroom is a little different, so the sizes of the bedrooms are a little different. The views out the windows are definitely different. Maybe the size of the closet, or this one has a built-in, or this one has a larger window, or an extra little nook that it works really well for them. So each bedroom is different as well. And I think that really helps the seniors still identify with a space that's theirs, instead of walking in and, oh, this apartment looks just like my apartment. It allows them to really distinguish what is theirs as well.
Right. What about training of your staff, caregivers? Is that something that you do internally? Do you have external programs? A combination of? How do you keep your, especially your caregivers? Because dealing with people with dementia, and it's become an art almost. So tell us a little bit about your training.
Sure. So we have a very extensive hiring process, and in that hiring process, we also do a lot of training. We have 3 steps that they have to come into our main office to make sure that they, one, are coming on time, that they're dressed appropriately each time, that they're really staying attentive. And during that second time that they come in, it's an 8-hour day that they spend with one of our nurses, and the nurse really talks through with them and gets to make sure that all the skills that they say they have, they really do have. And then we also do background checks. And so for us personally, we're required by the state of Minnesota to do a local check and a state check, and we don't feel that that's enough, so we also do a national check as well. It lets us know if they've been naughty in one of our neighboring states, or if they've had too many speeding tickets. All of those things we take into account, and if they have them, then they're not hired with our company. If they are hired with us, then we are able to get them on shifts out at the homes, and they have a lot of supervision by our nurse. So we have a nurse that's on call 24 hours a day, and Monday through Friday, she spends her day at each of the homes. So she'll spend 2 to 3 hours at each home, making sure that the caregivers are following the plan of care, that they're doing transfers so it's the safest way for both the residents and the caregivers, and just making sure that everything's running really smoothly. To increase our knowledge and making sure our caregivers are equipped with all of the tools that they need, we also use an online training program throughout the year where they get assigned courses, and then they take those courses online. And so we found that their understanding of how to deal with complicated issues for people with dementia, how to deal with families and helping them understand the dying process, helping them really understand new techniques to get people with dementia to make sure those personal cares are addressed is really given them a lot of tools to have that online training as well. So we do both in-house with our nurses and at our office, and then we also use the support of online training as well.
Great. You mentioned you have a nurse that has various responsibilities. Well, why don't you explain to our listeners to make sure they're clear, though, even though you have a nurse, all right, there are certain nursing functions or responsibilities that person cannot do like they could in a nursing home, because you're not a nursing home. Okay, but even though you do have a nurse working for you, just explain that differential, if you can.
Sure. So our nurse is there. Our nurse is able to set up all of the medications for our residents so that the caregivers are able to administer them on the schedule that the residents need. Our nurse is able to help with small wounds or skin tears. They can help make sure that those are healing properly and getting bandaged correctly. Our nurses are able to make sure fingernails and toenails are clipped and appropriate. They write that plan of care, which is like an instruction book for our caregivers to know how to take care of each of the residents. They're able to help make sure that the residents are trained and understand how to make sure oxygen is being administered correctly or a Hoyer lift is being used correctly. The things that we aren't able to do at our home right now are things like sliding scale insulin, where a nurse would need to be there 24 hours a day to make sure the insulin's being diagnosed or dialed up correctly and then administered correctly. We're not able to do things like a straight catheter, where the resident would need to have the catheter taken in and out frequently throughout the day, because we don't know if a nurse is there to do it. But we do and are able to help residents who have an indwelling catheter. We're able to help residents that have a feeding tube, as long as it's an established feeding tube that we know that it's been put in place and is able to doesn't have any leaks and is working properly for the resident, then we're able to help them with that. Okay. I'm trying to think of other things that we're not able to do.
Yeah, no, I think that, and I want to make sure for our listeners, because I have visited homes throughout the country like yours, similar concept. And I have to say the state of Minnesota is pretty liberal as it relates to what your caregivers or your nurse can and cannot do. I would have to say that the regulations vary from state to state. So for those that are listening and hearing that, oh, wow, they could handle a catheter, or they could handle this, may not be the case in other states. So, so I think it's important if people are looking at these as options. Certainly, if they're talking to the home directly, or maybe through one of our advisors, we would be able to then, explain, what can and cannot be done. But I appreciate you going through that. Another question I had is kind of unique to your homes, and it has to do with Montessori. And I think of Montessori more for children than I do seniors. So tell us more about your Montessori-based activities.
Sure. So my original background, before I was a mom and before I became involved with the Geneva Suites, I was an educator. So I was involved with special ed. And Montessori is generally thought of with kids, teaching them how to use their senses, all 5 of them, to really experience their world and learn new skills. Well, as people age and start to decline, they need to really rely on all of their senses, maybe in a different way than they did when they were an active, vibrant adult. And so the geriatric Montessori method really helps focus on the seniors at where they are and allows them to use the skills that they still have to understand their world, and to be as independent in their community as they can, and help them really feel like they have a role and a purpose in the home, which gives value to their life and helps their quality of life really improve. So like an example would be, we have a gal in one of our homes that has dementia that's fairly severe, but she's still very ambulatory. She still doesn't need a walker, is still very, very able to move around the house as she was before. And so what we've done for her is given her the role of taking drink orders at meal times for the different residents. So sometimes she has to ask people a couple times to remember who needs what, but it allows her to feel important and like she's contributing to the house. It really feels more like a family environment more than a big facility where they just get served by an aide. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So it's wonderful. So, I could talk to you all day about this. I know you don't have the time to do that, and I don't think I do either, but we only have time for, maybe we have another minute or two. If you could just give us maybe a little bit of overview from a technological standpoint. I mean, there's a lot of technology out there today, whether it's to help prevent falls or technology in communication with family members over Skype or things like that. Tell us a little bit about how, technology that Geneva Suites takes advantage of to help families.
Absolutely. When we developed this concept, we wanted to make sure that the residents felt like they could get in contact with the caregivers easily without having to worry about a button. Sometimes with dementia, they see a button, but they don't necessarily know what it's for, or if they press it and it takes too long for someone to get there, they don't remember why they pressed the button to begin with. So we've installed monitors in our home so that the resident can either ding a bell next to their bed to alert the caregivers that they need assistance, or they can just call out, I need to go to the bathroom, or I need a tissue, my nose is stuffy, whatever it may be. The caregivers can hear them or visually see them and respond to their needs that way. And so that's one way technology's really helped us. We also have iPads in all of our homes, and that's been a great way for our residents, even if they're not able to communicate as well verbally, what maybe they have Parkinson's and aphasia set in, and so their ability to have a conversation is impaired, they are still able to see and communicate with their family. So we set up FaceTime or Skyping with our residents and their family members often. We're able to have, for one of our residents, we have some word cues that he can point to say what he needs, since his speech is really limited. So we're able to use technology that way. And another really great advance with technologies are the pads that we're able to put on the beds. They're bed alarms. So especially with our Parkinson's patients, who can be a little bit impulsive sometimes and can definitely be a fall risk, we're able to be alerted right away if they're starting to stir in bed, or if they're trying to stand up from a chair and a caregiver staff is not right there. We get alerted by alarm, and then we're able to get to them right away to help prevent those potential falls.
That's great. That's wonderful. Marlena, thank you so much. Marlena Hemenway with Geneva Suites in Minnesota. Tell us also just, if people wanted to learn more about Geneva Suites, how would they go about doing that?
Sure, they could visit our website, which is www.thegeneva, and we spell it GENEVA suites.com, or they can call us at 612-208-8888. So it's 612-208-8888.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us on the Aging Boomers. And people that we have people listening to the show all over the country and even other parts of the world. So If you want to learn more just about residential care homes or assisted living, as I mentioned earlier, you could contact a senior care advisor at Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or go directly to the website to find an advisor in your area at www.seniorcareauthority.com. Marlena, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, Frank. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, you too. And everybody, just be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all soon.